Mikayla Dylan Jones, born May 31st, 2002, in Joplin, Missouri. Oh, what a bright future she must have had.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mikayla. Happy birthday to you.
A beautiful, sweet, caring, straight-A student who was close to finishing all of her prerequisites to become a nurse. Following in the footsteps of her mother, Stacy Jones, a registered nurse, Stacy had 3 other children, 2 boys and a girl. But KK was her first girl, an unconditional love that still grows to this very day. They were always telling each other how much they cared for one another, never holding back the truth, a bond that could not be broken. On May 3rd, 2021, she would hang out with a nice young man she met while attending Mineral Area College in Park Hills, Missouri. Recalled events of that day had Mikayla's phone being blown up by Bradley Brackett, a mutual friend of a friend who wanted to hang out. And on May 4th, one day later, with KK's closest friends in Florida, she takes Bradley Brackett up on that offer, and for the first time ever, they hang out. The girls allegedly listening to music, playing on their phones, drive off the west side of the road, striking a road sign. The police arrive, Bradley quickly saying that Mikayla was driving my car, despite this being the very first time that they've ever hung out. What a trusting young woman. Allegedly, while driving Bradley's car, she got distracted, drove off the road and continued over the curb and struck the road sign, bending the upright support, tearing it from the ground. Mikayla was issued a municipal summons for property damage. If Andrew and Ethan were not already with the girls, they showed up on the scene before the police arrived, accounting for 2 men and 2 women standing outside the vehicle. They decide to hang out at her boyfriend's house, Ethan Civey, age 24. His friend, Andrew Pierce, age 32, would also be in attendance. This, tragically, would be the first and last time that they ever hung out as a group. As night turned into morning, May 5th, Mikayla Jones, a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister-in-law, an auntie, a cousin, a beloved friend, would be unalived. The events that unfolded that night, we can only be left to speculate, because the alleged lies that follow paint a so clear picture of who all 3 suspects truly were. As Ethan Civey and Andrew Pierce bundle Mikayla's body in a comforter, throw her corpse in Andrew's trunk like she was nothing more than a dead battery, knowingly and feloniously drive around for hours looking for a place to dispose of her body. 30 feet off the highway in a wooded area, they find a perfect hiding place. She was all alone, helpless, bruised, and confused, leaving us unable to question if Mikayla may have still been alive. Posing the question, why give her 0 chance for survival? Could someone or some group be hiding an unthinkable secret? I believe Shakespeare said it best: what separates man from beast is the capability of and capacity for reason. So at that very moment, we knew these were not men. They were animals. Some reports say after getting rid of Mikayla's body, they head back to Ethan's house, or at least one he was the renter of. They destroy all of the drug evidence, hide all traces of Mikayla being there, ridding the house of all of her possessions, smashing her phone just before torching it, finally throwing it into the river, ensuring their untouchable crew would remain untouched. For the rest of the world, Mikayla had gone missing. Stacy, Mikayla's mom, at this point had no idea her daughter's life had been cut short. On May 1st, just a few days earlier, a remembrance of their relationship and love, as we sometimes forget to tell the ones that mean the most to us that we love them. A. Never let a moment be wasted. As KK asks Stacy what she's doing, she replies, just charting. A necessary task in the medical field to give report. KK calls her mom a nerd. They laugh it off. KK tells Stacy, I love you, returned by a I love you, followed by KK's I love you too. Such big hearts. One now stopped, the other now broken. When Stacy gets no response from KK, she knew something was wrong. Mikayla would never ghost her mom. The last known person that she hung out with, Briley Brackett. Stacy contacts her for help. She reaches out to Briley on Facebook Messenger. May 5th. She explains, I'm Mikayla's mom. I have not heard from her since last night. I'm getting ready to call the police. If you can help me, please do. However, allegedly, Briley does not respond. Hello, I'm desperate, Stacy says. May 6th. Hello, I need you to contact me right now, please. And then finally, as it was supposedly enough time for someone to get their lot together, a response from Briley. Sorry, Stacy. I'm sleeping with my 2-year-old. A 2-year-old, some reports say, she does not have custody of, beating the 80% odds of the mother having custody. I was with her yesterday, but no joke. She left, and I have no idea who she left with. At all. She didn't tell me a thing, to be honest with you. I've tried contacting her too, but no response back. I can ask this boy that she was with when I first saw her. I don't even know his name. Gosh dang, give me a second. I'll try. Stacy tells Briley she is worried sick. Can I get the address of the last place you saw her? Briley says they hung out for a while. She didn't tell me who she was hanging out with or anything. I wish I knew more, but I'll keep trying. Stacy questions when the last time she saw Mikayla. At this point, seeming to do better detective work than authorities. Briley allegedly, confidently says Tuesday morning. Briley, claiming to have just called her, says Mikayla hit ignore because the phone should have rang more times. She declined my call. So, Stacy called Sprint. The last time her phone was used, last night at 9 p.m. Briley then allegedly says this is good news because the last time they spoke was Tuesday morning. So it pisses me off. She is ignoring us. So, Stacy contacts Briley's dad. He allegedly tells her the guy's name that she can't remember is Ethan Civey, a boy Briley was currently dating. Stacy reportedly contacts Ethan, who claims Mikayla left Wednesday sometime. Stacy then confronts Briley about the incorrect dates that she had just given her. Immediately, Briley retracts her story. She just so happened to get the dates mixed up, saying she left early Wednesday morning, like 3 a.m., and didn't realize it was already Wednesday. Mikayla got some random ride, and now, conveniently, nobody knows who she left with. Briley allegedly asked Stacy, had KK talked to her about going to Texas. She told me she was going there, and she talked to me about it the whole time we were together. Stacy continues to question Briley about the guy's name she could not remember, and all of a sudden, it magically hits her as her young memory returns. Austin Shaw, allegedly saying they already spoke. He messaged me. He thinks she is in Texas too. Stacy does some digging of her own, refusing to take any lies at face value. Nothing she was being told was making any sense at this point. However, one thing was very obvious. That can't be Austin choking her in the video. He has no tattoos on his hands. And I want to know who this is. Allegedly, Briley says, I did not see the TikTok video. I've only met him once. How was I supposed to know he didn't have any tats on his hands?
The very last TikTok posted to Mikayla's account was very alarming. It had very dark, almost satanic music playing, and there was a hand around her neck, a tattooed hand around her neck, and the caption was very odd, almost like it was written by someone else.
Mikayla told me she was moving in with some blonde girl in Texas. She sticks to her story, now adding she was going to Texas to become a stripper. As the conversations become heated, to say the least, Briley allegedly says he did not do anything to your daughter. He, as in Andrew Pierce. Stacy delivers a message. I will not rest until all three of you are behind bars forever. Missouri's finest. How did you word it? You believe it was an overdose and that they improperly disposed of her body. How does one properly dispose of a body? Allegations surface that the lead investigator, Detective Ryan, is known friends with Gina Civi, Ethan's mom, leading everyone to find it peculiar how quickly her name was released to the public as an overdose, without allegedly any official examiner's report, painting a one-sided narrative of a party girl who just happened to overdose, as a familiar feeling of deja vu creeped over the town, a similar case ending in an overdose involving one of the same suspects, Andrew Pierce. The victim, Desiree Link, on February the 22nd, 2021, she would change her Facebook status to in a relationship. On that same day, her friends would post, "You deserve the best. Hope he treats you right. I'm so happy for you. He seems like a nice and caring guy. After only 1 month of their relationship being official, on March 29th, an emergency call goes out. Desiree has reportedly overdosed. This call was made by Andrew Pierce. This case is reportedly still open, reminding us that once is an accident, twice is a pattern. 2 months later, Mikayla suffers the same fate when she comes into contact with Andrew Pierce. Some reports say the FBI offered their help to Washington County, but they were turned away, told there was no federal crime here, and they didn't need the FBI. The initial autopsy was performed by Washington County Sheriff's Office, listing that her body was received in a black body bag, clothed in black Victoria's Secret panties, and a stained denim shirt, long sleeve button down. What appears to be a stained tank top on her right arm and beneath her body. Her head and neck skeletonized after being exposed to the elements for weeks. Every day, as they maintained their lives, extensive maggot activity quickly turning her body into dirt. Finding drugs in her system, supposedly indicating her death was by an overdose, according to Washington County. Mikayla's identity had to be determined by dental records. Stacy's mom refused to have the wool pulled over her eyes, and she has a second autopsy done, performed this time by Dr. Jane Turner. Those results, the cause of death is undetermined. The manner of death is undetermined. Microscopic examinations shows contusions of the left knee, a fracture of the inner table of the calvarium may or may not represent an mortem injury, meaning this could have occurred before or after her death. The drug concentration's toxicity is scientifically and medically unsupported. The fractures, presence alone, with the circumstances surrounding Mikayla's disappearance, the way her remains were discovered, raises concerns for possible homicide as the manner of death. Allegedly, no lethal amount of drugs in her system. Mikayla was a very healthy kid. No way her heart just stops. If you buy that he just woke up next to her body, then all of a sudden committed multiple felonies just because he was scared, then you have no idea what an animal is capable of.
Stopping in the road, you're gonna be keeping it up and throwing up and throwing you. Instead of recording motherfuckers like I'm a psycho with my own fucking license, you don't shit by you, you motherfucker.
Get off my property!
People, let's go to shoot for a fucking minute. Before you
Go!
I'll see you in court, man. I'll see you along with other motherfuckers like that. Remember that.
3, 2,
Do it.
he needs to move! He is stalking and threatening and harassing me! I will shoot!
If I came here to get your car back in the wrong way, I want my shit so I can play my fucking floor.
Andrew, leave! Now!
Fucking asshole, that's right. You fucking crazy motherfucker.
Where's my 45?
You like
Where's my 45? Where's my 45? reporting her. Avocado.
Charged with abandonment of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence. Briley charged with, well, looks like she walks free. I guess she didn't lie or alter any information with no intent to deceive or delay the investigation. Well, today we have a special guest, a mom who has made Mikayla's justice her life mission. For those who don't know who you are, could you please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and tell us who you were to Mikayla?
Hello, my name is Stacy Jones. I'm Mikayla Jones' mother. I was born and raised in Farmington, Missouri.
How would you say a typical day was spent with Mikayla? She always seemed to make time for friends and family. What would y'all do for fun?
A typical day spent with Kayla at the time that she was murdered. She was taking a break from college and she was starting a job at the local pool as a lifeguard the next week. So she was just kind of hanging out with her friends and being a normal 18-year-old. Kayla would always go to her sister's cheerleading events and anything that her siblings had at school. She always attended with me, and she also liked to run errands with me. We spent a lot of time together, whether it be shopping or getting our nails done. She was very close to me and her siblings.
Stacy, y'all have a nice sized family, 2 boys and you had 2 girls, but Mikayla was your first daughter. Can you tell me a little bit about the bond that you two formed, following in your footsteps to become a nurse? What would that have meant to you to work with your daughter, and had y'all ever talked about it?
We're proud of you. I made it, Mama.
Kayla had almost all of her prerequisites done to apply at the nursing program that I graduated from, and she was looking forward to starting a career in nursing. She had applied to be a patient care tech where I was a nurse at the time of her murder. We thought it would be fun to work together, and we had talked about that a lot and couldn't wait for her to get her degree, but she was going to try to work where I did as a patient care tech while she was in school. Kayla and I were very close. She was just the sweetest, funniest girl. We definitely had a strong bond. She would check on me if anytime I was at work or if she knew I was just having a bad day. Yeah, I miss her. She could always cheer me up.
Did Mikayla have a lot of friends? Tell me about the type of people that she would generally hang out with.
Kayla was an outgoing 18-year-old, but I wouldn't say that she hung out with a lot of people. She had a small group of friends from high school that she still hung out with. And they were all very good kids, to my knowledge. And she had been hanging out with a boy that she met at Mineral Area College. Very nice young man. In fact, he was one of the last real friends that she would be around as she hung out with him on May 3rd, 2021.
When Mikayla decided to hang out with Briley, were her regular friends out of town? And do you think that that is the only reason that she hung out with Briley?
Some of Kayla's friends at the time of her disappearance and ultimately her murder, she was a little sad because some of her friends had invited her on a trip to Miami and at the last minute told her that they didn't have room. And so she was a little bummed about that, and I do believe that it played a role in her decision to hang out with Briley Brackett on May 3rd, 2021. Kayla had never hung out with Briley Brackett prior to May 3rd through May 5th. They had never hung out alone together. They only knew each other through mutual friends. And the gentleman that she was with on May 3rd from school said that Riley Brackett was blowing her phone up in attempts to get her to hang out with her.
How is Mikayla about responding to your phone calls, your text messages? Does she usually get back to you pretty fast? Does she ever just ignore your calls or ignore your messages?
Kayla would always get back to me if she wasn't home. She did live at home with us at the time of her murder, and there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't either see her or hear from her through text or a phone call. I had never been ignored by her, and there had never been a time that more than a few hours would pass before I would hear from her.
What thoughts went through your mind when she was not responding? Who did you contact first?
I became alarmed on May 5th when I had texted Kayla early in the morning of the 5th and she didn't respond. I last saw her on May 3rd at 11:30 p.m. and received the very last text sent from her phone on May 4th at 9:18 p.m. I worked night shift on the night of May 5th, 2021. I was already in panic mode. I had called her 250 times that night, and I also reached out to other family members to get them to call and text her. I truly became panicked on May 6th when I called our cell phone provider and was told that her phone had not been used since it had no activity since May 5th at 9:52 p.m. I started contacting her friends, calling last numbers given to me from the cell phone provider. I made a Facebook post begging for help from the community. One of KK's friends ultimately told me that she had been with Riley Brackett, so I messaged her on Facebook, and Riley Brackett's dad called me early in the morning on May 7th around 5:30 a.m. and told me that Riley and Mikayla had been together and that they had been in a fender bender, and that Riley had her aunt pick her up from a house in Belgrade, and he gave me the address and told me that if I went there to look for my daughter, not to go there alone. When I got the last address that Kayla had been seen at, I went there and my heart just sank when I saw the house that she was last in. It was not a house that she would have ever hung out in. It was a rundown shack in the middle of nowhere. I knocked on the door. 2 men answered the door, later to be identified as Andrew Pierce, 33, and Ethan Civey, 24. They came outside, closed the door behind them, and told me that they had just met Kayla the night before. She had spent the night there. They had left for work, and that when they came home, she was gone, and that they had no idea who she left with, and talking about going to Texas to be a stripper.
How long did it take you to realize that Mikayla was truly missing? When you filed a missing persons report, were the police at all helpful? Did they spring to action?
I immediately knew that they were lying. Alarm bells were sounding. I went straight to the police station from that house and filed a missing person report. The authorities were less than helpful as she was 18. They treated it like she had just ran away after I told them many, many times that this was not typical behavior for her. This is not something that she would do. They did go to the house in Belgrade and talk to the same 2 gentlemen that I did. And I was told that they were told the same story, that she was there and that she had left, and they did not have any idea who she had left with. My family and I received very little help from authorities looking for Mikayla, but the community was amazing. They even helped to hang missing person flyers, and we did conduct searches by ourselves. Never was one conducted by law enforcement.
Hey everyone, wanted to let you guys know that we just came from Mikayla's court at St. John County for Andrew Pierce, who didn't have to show up today. was whatever. But I think the worst part of today was that we just got treated like we were criminals. They told us that they had to escort us
To our vehicles
out of the courthouse, as if we were the criminals. We're so sick and tired of having to deal with the fact that we're not the ones that
murdered a little girl.
We
Threw her in their trunk. Lied for 2 weeks.
it's just beyond me. But apparently both guys, criminals, monsters, demons, whatever you want to call them, have accepted a plea. So now both court dates were going to be together. They wanted to move it to a place that has metal detectors, as though St. John, we just walked through metal detectors. So I don't understand why they wanted to have extra protection. I'm not really sure what they're so scared of us little people from Farmington, Missouri, trying to get justice for Mikayla.
We're a little smarter than that. We'd be outside with ARs or something anyway.
I have just never seen such bullshit.
It's ludicrous.
And just having to deal with it. I mean, as soon as we got there, the detective of the Attorney General's office spoke with the sheriff guy that was in the courtroom. You could tell they were talking about us, like we were like, we had to be watched. And then when we left the courtroom, went out to our cars, the bailiff there at the doors was like, oh, I have to escort you guys out.
We were leaving also.
I mean, we were almost already out the door.
We were all at the door.
We never said anything to anybody. We didn't even talk to the Attorney General, prosecuting attorneys. We didn't speak to anyone. But why us? Like, why? So I just wanted to give everybody an update, let everybody know what's going on. We're just dumbfounded at what is happening. So, I don't know. If we're going to be at Farmington on August 19th, maybe that morning we'll just start picketing and see, like, where's Mikayla's rights
and justice
and her justice and her protection. Like, they're trying to act like we're the criminals and that they need to be protected from us, who's only trying to get justice for Mikayla. So it's really, really sad. And
we're gonna finish processing what just happened.
I mean, we literally just left the courtroom and we're driving, and
We're
just wanted to share what was going on.
t-shirts.
Yeah.
We're just
we're just
wearing t-shirts.
I mean,
And they have to escort
we're
us
just
out.
moms.
I am dangerous.
Just moms.
Just moms.
But we're gonna keep fighting for her. We're not gonna stop just because they're intimidated by us, I guess. So we'll keep you guys all posted. We appreciate your support, and if anybody wants to come to St. Francis County Courthouse August 19th at
9 a.m.
Nope, starts at 8.
Starts at 8.
So 7:30, we can start holding some signs up and show them our presence. We would appreciate your support. Let them know that Mikayla's matters. I mean,
What happened to her protection?
you know, I don't have a criminal bone in my body to do anything, and for them to treat me like that, all of us. Stacy's dad was there. Stacy's aunt was there. It's ridiculous.
Not one of us has any kind of criminal history whatsoever.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Just keep us in your prayers, please. And again, we appreciate all your guys' support. And
I understand that you reached out to Briley thinking that she could possibly make more sense of what was going on. Did she seem very helpful? Did she seem worried at all?
Briley started to lying to me on May 6th. She tried to confuse me, tell me that she didn't know who Kayla could have left with, just talking in circles, and even went as far as to tell me that my daughter was selfish for not responding to me.
At some point in the investigation, they were saying that Mikayla ran away to Texas. Where do you think that idea came from? And who do you think came up with it?
I believe that the idea of Kayla going to Texas to be a stripper did originate from Briley Brackett. I believe that she thought that if they all told that story, no one would be looking for her, and that would at least buy them more time.
Would Mikayla ever do anything like that, like running to Texas and not telling you that she went?
This was completely out of character for Mikayla. That is not something that she would have done, going to Texas to be a stripper, but even if she was playing the devil's advocate, she would have told me. I had already been to the bank to get her a new car, and she definitely would have waited for that, as she was a very intelligent young lady. But she also would have just said, "Mom, I know you don't think this is the right thing to do, but this is what I'm going to do."
So this group of individuals allowed authorities to continuously search for your daughter, knowing exactly where she was. How did they locate her?
Kayla's remains were found 26 feet off the highway, off M Highway in Washington County, Missouri, after Andrew Pierce confessed as to where they had hid her body.
When authorities found a body located in the woods, did you immediately think, "That's my daughter"?
Originally, I did not think that it could possibly be Kayla's remains. I still have a hard time believing that she's not here. I made sure that the authorities did take her dental records to the medical examiner at that time. I immediately suspected foul play and believe that my daughter was murdered. The last people she was in contact with was Briley Brackett, Andrew Pierce, and Ethan Civey, and I still believe they are responsible for her murder. Kayla was too smart to do drugs or overdose.
So the guys that Briley took Mikayla to hang out with, one being her boyfriend, the other being old enough to be her father, did she know his age? Do you think she knows the type of people that she was taking Mikayla to hang out with?
Briley Brackett was 24 at the time of Mikayla's murder. Ethan Civey was also 24 at the time of Mikayla's murder, and Andrew Pierce was 33. Briley Brackett had been dating Ethan Civey, and she definitely knew what kind of people she was delivering my daughter to.
Missouri has the Good Samaritan law, which protects people if someone has an overdose. Why do you think they didn't just call 911?
If my daughter had overdosed, I don't understand, and I never will, why they wouldn't have just called 911. They had been through this with other people and know that the Good Samaritan law protects them from any drug activity that they may have had going on at the time or anything else. They would have been in no trouble by calling authorities, but they instead went to great lengths to hide not only my daughter's precious body, but they destroyed her phone. It was retrieved. Some of her other personal belongings have not ever been retrieved, but they definitely went to great lengths to disguise what they had done.
I'm definitely not a detective, but I feel like Briley Brackett should have been held accountable. Have they cleared her of all wrongdoing? Has she tried reaching out to you? When was the last time you talked to Briley?
The only time Briley has responded to me since May 6th, when I was searching frantically for my daughter, was at the beginning of this year, she messaged me and told me that she was so close to Kayla and she was so sorry for what happened, and that she wanted to wear a wire to help me get the truth from Andrew Pierce. She later blocked me and did not follow through with this, and I have had no further contact with her. I am being told that Briley Brackett is not being charged with anything because authorities do not have enough evidence to charge her. However, she lied to them as much as she lied to me, and I would think that would at least qualify for hindering an investigation.
The initial autopsy done by the county, in your words, what were their findings?
Russell Dideker is the medical examiner for 26 surrounding counties in our area. He initially tried to rule Kayla's death as an acute methamphetamine overdose. After he seen the private autopsy, he did amend it, and now it simply says cause and manner are undetermined. He tried to convince me that I did not need a second opinion, and there are many families in this area that feel that their loved ones' autopsies were also mishandled by him.
You reached out and you had a second autopsy done by Dr. Jane Turner. What were her findings? Did this change anything for authorities? Did this change anything with the investigation?
Jane Turner conducted the private autopsy. She was the state medical examiner in St. Louis for 29 years and before she went into private practice, and she is a forensic pathologist. She found no lethal amounts of drugs in Mikayla's system, but she did find a fractured skull and multiple contusions on her bilateral lower extremities. As she was lying in the woods deteriorating, there was no blood sample to test, so the only thing that they could use was muscle. I am being told that that is not as viable as a sample as blood would be. That could be why the cause of death is listed as undetermined.
With even the possibility of foul play, why don't you think they're on trial for murder? Was this investigation ever called a homicide?
Law enforcement seems less than interested in finding out the truth. The initial Highway Patrol report does have their interviews, and their report is listed at the top as a homicide investigation.
If any, how have your interactions been with Ethan Civey throughout this case? Ethan Civey accepted the plea deal. Do you feel like he feels guilty and he's accepting his punishment? Or do you feel like he was just trying to take the least amount of time that he possibly could?
I have never had any communication with Ethan Civey, despite multiple attempts. He recently pled guilty to abandonment of my precious baby's body and felony tampering with physical evidence. He was sentenced to 8 years. I don't think he feels any remorse for the pain that he's caused. I think he took the plea deal because he knows the evidence is overwhelming and to serve less time in prison. He will be testifying against Andrew Pierce as a condition of his plea agreement.
What has your interactions been with Andrew Pierce throughout this case? Was he offered the same plea deal as Ethan Civey? Were Andrew's charges the same?
I have never had any communication with Andrew Pierce despite multiple attempts. Andrew Pierce was offered the same plea agreement that Ethan Civey was offered. He initially was going to take it, and at the last minute he backed out. His attorney quit after he did that.
Will the prosecution be seeking any additional charges?
That I know of, law enforcement or prosecutors are not actively investigating or seeking any additional charges.
Stacy, you've been working towards a new law. Tell me about that.
We are working on a new law for stiffer penalties for individuals that do not call for help if someone does overdose. It essentially will build on the Good Samaritan law that is currently in place to protect the same individuals.
Tell us about the Justice for Mikayla Jones petition.
We do also have a petition that has around 35,000 signatures right now, and that is to encourage law enforcement to conduct a proper investigation into the death of my baby.
What would you ultimately like to see happen with your daughter's case? Do you have a message for those who hurt your daughter?
I will not rest until I know exactly what happened that night, and everyone involved with Mikayla's death is charged with murder.
Is there any inspiration that you can give the other mothers that have went through a similar loss?
To anyone going through anything similar to what I am going through, especially mamas, I know how hard this is, and I know that at times you don't even want to go on. But I would like to encourage you to keep fighting for justice for your baby and to continue living for them. Here comes the sun.